Hello and welcome back to Scotty Holiday 2. My name is Scotty Holiday. I am a queer creator and a huge Star Wars nerd, so if that's something you're into, please consider subscribing to my channel. Today, Disney and Lucasfilm released the official trailer for Andor, a Star Wars original series, and I cannot wait to talk about it, break it down, and speculate about the series. Before we get started, please make sure to like the video and leave a comment letting me know which Star Wars character you're most excited to see more of in the show. Now let's get into this video. Right from the beginning, we get some ominous music, the sound of wind whistling, and see two people hiking along a lush mountainside. As the camera gets closer, we hear what sounds like a muffled explosion and see two TIE fighters flying in the distance. After a couple rewatches, I'm pretty sure the kid is young Cassian. Next, we go to a villager holed out in the forest and see someone holding some kind of blaster rifle and another person with what looks like a speeder. Both of them are looking up towards the sky, and it's revealed that what they're looking at is a Star Destroyer and TIE fighters flying closely overhead. That would be a pretty scary sight if you ask me. After this, we get a shot of young Cassian overlooking a huge mining operation, and I think we can agree that this is the aftermath of the Empire's arrival on the planet. The Empire is no stranger to stripping a planet of its resources with a complete disregard for its inhabitants. We've seen them do this on Ryloth, Kashyyyk, Ilum, Morak, just to name a few. We hear a voiceover from Cassian saying, "To steal from the Empire, you just walk in like you belong," as we see him climb into what looks like an Imperial base. The Empire is very uniform and suppresses any form of individuality, and I think this is what really makes it so easy to infiltrate their ranks. Like, all you really have to do is put on a uniform, walk the walk, and you're good to go. And I think this is what Cassian is alluding to. Moving forward, we finally get our first live action look at the Imperial Senate. This is the first time we've seen the Senate chamber in live action since 2005. It's literally been 17 years. A little Easter egg that I didn't actually notice on my own, but was pointed out to me later in Discord, was the Imperial crest on the floor of the chamber. It's such a fun little detail that's easy to miss, so I wanted to make sure I pointed it out. I also tried to see if we could see anyone in the center pod, but I really can't tell. How cool would it be to get a Palpatine cameo though? I'd even settle for Mas Amedda, since he was essentially the face of the Imperial government during this time. Next, we get some shots of different Imperial officers as we hear Cassian say they're so proud of themselves, so fat and satisfied. And I have to laugh every time I hear this line. Like, I get that he's basically just calling them pompous, but I can't help but take the line literally. Then he says, they can't imagine that someone like me would ever get inside their house, as we see young Cassian walking into an Imperial facility. I love the design of the screen graphics in front of him. It looks right in line with that retro aesthetic that is so distinctive to the original trilogy. This is definitely one of those super nerdy things that the general audience probably won't care about, but I had to say something because we love to see it. Next, we get our reveal of Stellan Skarsgård's character, Luthen Rael, as he's addressing Cassian Andor. It seems like the two of them will be working together at some point. He says, "The Empire is choking us so slowly, we're starting not to notice." This line really plays into the fascist, oppressive rule of the Empire, forcing its citizens to fall in line by any means so that they no longer question them. This line is also accompanied by a scene of clone troopers marching through the streets as the citizens watch, further conveying this fascist, oppressive rule. We also see a new Imperial officer, Dedra Meero, played by Denise Gough, accompanied by two Death Troopers. I cannot wait to get more Death Trooper action. They're probably my favorite Imperial Trooper design and one of the coolest designs that came out of Rogue One. This next scene shows Adria Arona's character being chased through the streets by a guard wielding a blaster, but the guard's uniform doesn't look Imperial to me. I wonder if they're a part of a local planetary defense team, but I'll talk more about it later. In the following scene, we see what looks like a ship being taken apart. Now, this could be a scrapyard, or more specifically, the planet Braca from Jedi Fallen Order, or it could be a shipyard, possibly on Corellia. I can't really tell based on the trailer, but it definitely looks like the ship is being dismantled. We see Cassian walking through one of these shipyards and hear a voiceover from Luthen asking, "Wouldn't you rather give it all to something real?" After cutting to black, we're shown the release date of Wednesday, September 21st, which is later than we were previously told, but what are you going to do about it? We are getting 3 episodes that day, so it's definitely something to look forward to nonetheless. As the music builds, we see Luthen exit a ship on a rocky planet. The ship design looks really cool and sleek. It's giving me a Corellian vibe almost, but I have to admit, I don't know anything about Star Wars ships. We hear Luthen say, "I need all the heroes I can get." Then cut to a scene of 2 tubes from Saw Gerrera's partisans outside of a base carved into the side of a rocky cliff. Interestingly enough, there's also an X-Wing parked outside of the base. Inside, Saw Gerrera approaches Luthen, and I have to be honest, Luthen doesn't seem too excited to be working with Saw. They say he's an extremist, and I honestly love whenever we get more Saw content to really see his descent into madness. Next, we go back to what looks like the town from earlier in the trailer, but instead of clone troopers marching through the streets, the Imperials seem to have on their riot gear and are using it against protesting citizens. During the next scene, we see what looks like 3 Republic gunships descending into a planet from space. While the design is very similar, these gunships look to be different than the ones used during the Clone Wars. Instead of 2 gun pods on either side, they now have 1 single gun at the front and a completely different paint scheme, with each ship having 2 yellow stripes on its wings. I'm curious what these Clone Wars callbacks have to do with the series or how they'll play into it. After this, we get a scene of guards or officers exiting a ship in the same uniform as the guard from earlier in the trailer. Their uniforms are blue with gold or orange accents, and I'm curious if the gunships we saw belong to them. We get a shot of Coruscant and then a Lambda-class shuttle landing by another shipyard, which I still think is on Corellia. Corellia and Coruscant do look really similar to me though, so it could just all be on Coruscant. We hear a voiceover from Dedra Meero as she looks over a hologram with other Imperial officers. We see some scenes of a beat-up and apprehended Adria Arona. Not sure if it's the way that the trailer is cut, but it seems like she's eventually brought to Dedra Meero for questioning. After these scenes, we get back to Luthen Rael, but based on his longer gray hair, it seems like this is after a time jump. We see a new character, Clea, who tells Luthen, "You're slipping," and I'm curious what the relationship is between these two. Maybe she's Luthen's daughter, or just a friend or ally. Mon Mothma pays them a visit, and from the vibe, it seems like she and Luthen are old friends. And we see a scene of him from earlier in the timeline with his shorter blonde hair piloting a ship taking down a TIE bomber. Towards the end of the trailer, we get to see a bit more of Mon Mothma, and we see her in the Imperial Senate chamber and then at a scene at some sort of gala or party. She says as long as everyone thinks I'm an irritation, there's a good chance they'll miss what I'm really doing. And the person she's speaking to asks, "What are you really doing?" I assume what she means is that as long as the other politicians see her as nothing more than an irritation, they won't think to pay any mind to what she's really doing behind the scenes, building the rebellion. Then we get this amazing shot of her just looking like a bad bitch. I just have to say I love this yesified Mon Mothma we're getting in this series. Genevieve O'Reilly looks stunning, and I am just so excited to get more of her and more of that character. We get some quick shots of 2 Death Troopers entering a home, a close-up of a woman crying, and our first look at the new droid B2EM0, and an explosion in the streets. There's a shot of Clea walking down a hallway, and we hear her say, "This is what revolution looks like." Then some action shots of Cassian. We see 3 people dressed in all-black Imperial uniforms scaling down the side of what looks like a dam, maybe an Imperial refinery, but I highly doubt they're actually with the Empire. Next, the trailer cuts to a scene with people dressed in identical white uniforms running down a hallway, and a shot of Cassian jamming what looks like a scomp link into some kind of control panel. This whole vibe felt like some sort of prison break, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see Cassian getting caught and breaking out of an Imperial prison or detention facility. That feels very on brand for his character. The last few scenes are pretty short and quick, but I did want to mention the 4-armed "we have Ochi Bastoon at home" dude, and this super cool shot of a ship flying above the clouds with what looks like some sort of missiles or debris crashing down to the planet below. All in all, I really liked this trailer. I got pretty hyped when the teaser trailer was released during Star Wars Celebration, and I'm even more hyped after seeing this full trailer. I don't know about y'all, but I'm so excited to see the Senate on screen again. Some people are going to complain that Star Wars is getting too political, but it's been political since A New Hope, and I'm so excited to see the politics again, especially in the Dark Times era. I really hope we get to see Jimmy Smits again as Bail Organa in this series, even if it's just a cameo. He was a part of the delegation of 2000 with Mon Mothma, Padme, and other senators who were against Palpatine's continually growing emergency powers, and many of those senators became leaders in the Rebel Alliance. So, due to his relationship with Mon Mothma, and the series exploring more of the political climate during the Dark Times, I think Bail appearing would be a no-brainer. One person I hope we don't see though is Darth Vader. I really don't see a place for him in this series, but as I mentioned before, I think this would be the perfect series to give us more Palpatine. The scale of this show seems so huge, larger than any of the other live-action Star Wars shows so far. I've been referring to it as the Game of Thrones of Star Wars, due to the large scale and the fact that the series is going to take place over time, following different characters and showing how their arcs intertwine into the overall story, and I'm so excited to see how it all plays out. So what new characters are you most excited to learn more about in the series? Are there any other characters from Star Wars media you think could show up? Do you think we'll get a Palpatine cameo? Let me know in the comments below or hit me up on Twitter so we can chat more about it. Please like the video and consider subscribing to my channel for more Star Wars content. To keep up with my latest updates, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. The links are in the description below. Thank you as always for watching, and may the Force be with you.